Okay, workshop. Creatures. Chick. Lamb. Hey, thanks so much for clicking on that link. I sure do appreciate it. So what am I talking about? Don't buy chicks and lambs. Well, if you're anything like me, the previous week, so this is week 218, okay, two weeks previous, in the patch notes here, we got a note about genetics and husbandry coming, which is kind of cool because a lot of people for a long time, especially with things like chickens and cows, have wanted to be able to breed them because if we go to the game here, it's not exactly cheap to order the cows and chicks and sheep from the workshop. It's not insanely expensive, but I mean, as you can see, I've only got like 1,400 Ren right now. Now I could cash in some exotics, but I was going to be kind of on a tight budget for picking these up, so I thought, hey, I'll get 2 chicks and 2 sheep. However, and if you haven't read these more detailed patch notes, please pause the video and kind of skim through here. The highlights are that they're gonna get attributes basically from their parents, so that could be in a positive or a negative direction. And you can have different code patterns and stuff, which is kind of cool. And then initially, we're only talking about chicken, sheep, cows, moa, and buffalo. I was really hoping for horses. I personally really like the horses and the buffalo. The others are fine. I like them too, but those are kind of my personal 2 favorites. Anyway, read through this to get the full thing if you haven't before. And real quick, I'm a little concerned about this, so we'll have to see how that comes into play. But having that as a background that, you know, this was coming, I was really excited to explore it, and I was going to record a video kind of, reacting to what we got. So I went through here, I saw this, and I thought, oh, cool, I can go buy them. And I logged into Icarus to check my balance and so on and so forth. But before I did that, I decided, and we should always do this, but I'm recording this video because sometimes we get in a hurry. We get too excited. I was reading through this, and kind of the sticky point here, all these farm animals currently arrive as female. So if you go back to Icarus, to the workshop, rather, you'll notice there it's labeled. It is labeled. But if I hadn't taken the time to stop and read those notes a little more carefully, my 2 chicks and my 2 lambs that I was planning on breeding, you can't breed 2 females. So please, if you want to get into this, just know that you can't do breeding yet. I kind of am a little surprised that they would release this without having, male and female versions available. And I'm really hoping that we don't have to separately research the male versions, because that could be even more expensive. So, but we'll have to see what they do. So just wanted to give you a big heads up on that to begin with. And then I thought, since I'm here, there are a couple other things in the notes that I sort of would like to comment on. So if you want to stick around for that, and you do, thank you so much in advance for doing that. I've seen other people complain about the writing animations, and I guess they're not like perfect, but I kind of feel like there's other more pressing concerns in the game than making the horses not look a little weird when they run. So, okay, thank you, but maybe different priorities. And then portable water tank fixes. I didn't even realize this was happening, so it looks like in the past, no matter what water you took from a container, you ended up gaining the attributes from drinking rainwater, which actually has some not so great stats to it. The first time I read this, I was confused because I was like, no, I mean, I look at my containers and they still say, filtered water or whatever. But I think what they're talking about is it's how it was being applied to the character. And I'm not exactly sure where to go to check for that. I know you can get like more info on your character in the game, but I've never looked for this, so I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, long story short, I've never even realized this was happening, so I'm glad that it's something that they fixed. I haven't really used the Carve and Weave backpack, but it looks like it's going to be charged now. It's going to have power. And when it's powered, you're going to get fall damage protection for you, nearby prospectors, and mounts within range, which is the range is not really described, so I don't know how big of an area that would involve. Creature navigation improvements. So I think most of us would agree that improving creature navigation, or tames in particular, would be great. I'm not sure if this is related to tames or just all creatures in general. It looks like previously, if there was like a damaged building, they could basically get stuck inside. So hopefully they've fixed that. Now, while we're on this subject, I would like to put a note out if for some crazy reason the devs happen to actually look at my tiny little YouTube channel. Please seriously think about fixing the pathing on the tames. I know we've got the teleportation system, which for those of you that may not know, tames beeline. So they only go in a straight line. So if you're walking around the edge of the mountains and you go around a corner, your tame will get stuck because it can't walk through the mountain. Now, if you get far enough away from your tame, it will basically pop into existence near you so that it doesn't get completely lost and left behind, which is, that's better than nothing. But it would be nice if tames actually stuck closer to you so that they didn't get stuck in the first place. But I recently was watching somebody else play, and they were saying if your tame teleports right next to you or runs up right behind you and their hitbox overlaps you and you go to shoot another creature, you can actually hurt your tame. So there's still some fine-tuning to do there. And I see a lot of people struggling with that. So I appreciate you working on this, but I also hope that you will do more stuff for our teams, because that'll just make things funner for everybody. Snow roof system rework. I almost didn't even bother reading this. However, what did catch my attention, so nutshell version, they're going to change the way basically snow and stuff is calculated and how that affects your roof. But they're saying this update should also enable a wider range of more natural looking shapes. So I am excited about that. If you've been following the channel for a little bit, you know that I have my Icarus castle build that I've been working on, and I haven't given up on it, but part of the reason you haven't seen a whole lot of more videos from that specifically related to the building of it is I got to a point where I was trying to make it, look a little more like a castle, and I realized I didn't have the build parts I needed. So hopefully we'll get more build parts that I can use for that and other applications. And please give us half rails. That would be awesome. And maybe more clip points on like floors and walls so that we can be a little more creative there. Instead of just having the corners, maybe we could get, the midpoints of each edge and like the center of the walls and floors. That would be awesome. Anyway, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. I don't know how challenging that would be, but it's on my wish list. Okay. And then this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial opinion, but you've probably noticed if you've been with the channel for a while, I don't have anything on Great Hunts. And the reason I don't is I've watched other people play and the missions involved, and I don't like the direction they've kind of gone with the game. This could be a little bit of a spoiler depending upon who you are and what you consider a spoiler. But long story short, with the Prometheus expansion map, you get to a certain point in the missions where you realize that, the corrupt corporations on Icarus have done even more terrible things, but you have Saul, and him and a friend of his are kind of, trying to do something good, trying to fight against this corruption. And so I went through those missions and I thought, okay, cool. Maybe we will get to, be the good guys and like fight against the corruption. Well, Great Hunts does not do that. So just gonna try to find the Great Hunts expansion. Here it is. So two things. One, Icarus is currently regularly priced at $35. I didn't pay $35 for it when I bought it, and as much as I love the game, I really wouldn't encourage somebody to buy it for full price. Try to catch it when it's on sale. If you were lucky enough to catch it this last sale, when it went on sale for like $4, yay! I'm really glad you were able to do that because it's a great game. But I kind of feel like the DLC is a bit overpriced. And no, I'm not a developer and I don't understand, all the expenses and stuff. But as a consumer, this would be high price for me to pay for a full game. And yes, I know there are plenty of games out there that are $50, $70, $80. I get that. And if you're somebody that has the budget for that, then great. I'm not. I have an extremely limited budget for gaming, to spend on gaming. So to have this come out at such a high price, even when it goes on sale, it's usually still pretty close to $20. And then to find out from trying to watch the first couple missions to kind of get a feel for whether or not I wanted to pick it up, it's kind of goes more and more down the dark road of corruption. And it's just not really the kind of game I want to play. And I get that some people want that, and that's fine. But please, for the rest of us, have a, kind of have a light path, have your dark path, but have your light path that we can go down. This game does have some interesting weapons and there's an interesting upgrade system and how you're able to do stuff. which I was kind of looking forward to working on, but I don't want to work for, corrupt people to get, my fancy new toys. There's also an issue that I see that as you're going through the missions, and I wish there was a screenshot here, because if there was, I would point to that. Yeah, I don't see any. There is a screen. In the mission screen, you have branching decision points where, like, if you choose to do a particular mission, it has an effect on the whole world, which on the surface sounds pretty cool. However, part of what you end up with is you end up adding new creatures to the biomes. This is one of them. It's kind of a rock golem type creature. And they're they're not like super high level things that you can't deal with. Like, obviously you want to have a gun. But they're like all over the map, and everywhere you go, you have to deal with these guys once you unlock that part. And I mean, I've been watching people play, and they're like, I don't want to do that mission because I don't want to have to deal with these creatures everywhere. So I wish they would have, I don't know, maybe done some audience testing or something. Maybe they did and they decided they didn't care. I don't know. But they keep trying to do things to just make life more and more difficult in Icarus. And me personally, that's not what I'm after. I want a challenge, but I don't want to be tortured. And if we go back to the New Horizons, we've got geothermal biome, which sounds suspiciously like volcanic. And if you know anything about the new Prometheus map, the volcanic area is one of the most frustrating ones. I would argue the swamp is probably worse, but volcanic biome is still pretty bad. And then you've got radioactivity. And then I saw this, NPC encampments, which that sounded interesting. However, new threats, 35 plus new creatures, which isn't surprising. But then you have hostile NPCs. So it's, again, I really enjoy the game. But it's kind of like when the game first came out, all they had was the mission mode, which made you start the Stone Age, build up to whatever level you needed to complete the mission, and then you had to basically leave the planet and lose everything. And that really frustrated people. But the devs kind of stuck with it for a long time because that was their original vision. And I get that. I do. But they listened, and that's why we now have open world. Well, hopefully you're still listening, because if you watch the videos that I watch, and there's another YouTuber that was really enjoying the game, and he got to the point where he was at the Null Sector stuff. And because of the difficulty and the lack of direction in the missions, those of you that have been playing for a long time, missions kind of fall into two categories. They're either kind of repetitious in the past. So this stuff, this looks like they're trying to improve that. So I want to give credit where credit's due. But in the past, the missions were really repetitive and not super challenging for most of them. But there have always been a few missions where the information you get is too limited. And they're still struggling with that. And so this person I was watching got to the Null Sector mission where you first enter the Null Sector, and he he was really frustrated. He was nice about it, but reading the comments after the fact, he was like, hey, I'm going to take a break from the game no, first he said, hey, I don't want to go back to the Null Sector. I don't see any reason to do it. So I'm probably not going to play any more of those missions. And then a little bit later, he's like, you know what? I'm taking a break from Icarus. And it was sad because he clearly enjoyed the game up until he hit the part where the devs made it like so difficult. So just please, I beg you, devs, give us, options to not go to the dark side, so to speak. And, keep in mind that people like a challenge, but if it's too sloggy, if the instructions are generic enough that it's easily misinterpreted or misunderstood, that really affects the way that people enjoy or rather don't enjoy the game. And that makes me sad because I want more people playing Icarus. I want this game to continue to do well. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the new expansion. I would like to add, I love this stuff here. It's all pretty cool. I like the fact that we're going to get new resources and options in the older maps, and that we are going to have NPCs acting as friends. I'm not so sure I like the faux part. We'll see. And that we're going to get new missions. That's awesome. It's free. Thank you. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. And then we're going to have the new T5 items, which is great because there's a lot of people who play the game and, get tier 4 as far as they want on the blueprints, and then they just kind of stop. So that's great. That's good stuff. So anyway, hopefully these thoughts were of use to you, and I would love to hear what you might have to say about these different subjects for yourself. My opinion is not the only one that matters, nor do I expect everyone to play the game the way that I would like to play the game. So I'd love to hear from you. And I think that is it for this video. So we will see you in the next one.